It's happening. It's happening like the Bible said. The Holy Scriptures foretold the signs of the last days prophecies. And now, ladies and gentlemen, now they're happening. There's more prophecy news updates around the signs of the last days prophecies. And now we have coming across on the news media today that Israel is on high alert. Israel on high alert for Iranian aggression. Let's go to the news and let's go to the news media and see exactly what is happening and what's going on here in the signs of the last days. The first headline that we have is from the Times of Israel, and it says that they're bracing for Iran missile or drone strikes. And they say that the Israeli Defense Forces are revealing Iranian targets in Syria and that they're bracing from those for an Iranian missile or drone strikes. And it says that tensions are mounting after the alleged bombing of the Iranian airbase in Syria by Israel that we've given you many live updates about over the past couple of weeks. This happened like a week ago from this last Saturday, I think, where Israel attacked a Syrian T-4 airbase. They attacked Iranian forces there, and ever since then, Iran and Russia have been coordinating together, working together, and Iran is now, for the first time, having serious intentions about having a direct attack toward Israel. Usually, they've always used proxy forces such as Hezbollah to make attacks on Israel. But now, since that last attack by Israel, of course, Israel never acknowledged that they did that. News reports that we mentioned to you said that Israel had let the United States know ahead of time that they were going to attack that Iranian base. It's a joint Syrian-Iranian / Russian base, but mostly primarily what Israel is concerned about is letting Iran its military get established strongly in Syria. But ever since that strike by Israel, the Iranians, along with the Russians, now as we talked about in the live broadcast we just did, how that now Russia, for the first time, their tone has turned hostile toward Israel. And now Russia is no longer ambivalent toward Israel, and Russia is partnering up with Iran and agreeing with Iran about striking Israel. And now they're saying that Israel's on high alert. Let's look farther into this. It says here, ahead of Israel's Independence Day, the Israeli military was preparing for the possibility of a direct attack by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' Air Force in response to that strike I was just talking about on Iran's airbase in Syria earlier. This is the Times of Israel saying that they've learned this. And as we go on down through this news media report looking at this, and this is from the Times of Israel, it says Iran, Syria, Russia, and some U.S. officials have all said explicitly that they know Israel was responsible for that strike, although Israeli officials still refuse to comment on the matter. And it says that a spokesman for Iran's foreign ministry, and we mentioned to you in some live broadcasts earlier this week and also last week, how that now Iran's foreign ministry and Russia's foreign ministry got together, and Russia agreed with Iran that it would be appropriate for Iran to have some kind of direct response for that Israeli strike on that Iranian base inside of Syria. It says Iran's foreign ministry said the country's retaliation against Israel will come sooner or later, meaning that they'll make a direct strike sooner or later on Israel. It says here that they will regret their misdeeds. It says the Zionist regime should not be able to take action and be exempt from punishment. And tensions have just been continuing to rise between Israel and Iran, and now it's put Israelis' defense force on alert. It says Israel's defense establishment and the country's various intelligence services and the military believes an Iranian revenge attack. And what was it we were just talking about last night about an evil plan that Russia has, and Russia and Iran are close allies. And I talked about Russia and its allies, its Arab allies, have an evil plan to attack Israel and the West. And I just said that last night in a live broadcast, and then here it's just like the Times of Israel must have been watching, and now they're saying some of the same things today. It says that Israel's defense establishment, various intelligence services, and the military believes an Iranian revenge attack would likely be carried out by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' Air Force with surface-to-surface missiles or armed drones on Israel. The Times of Israel has learned. So this seems to be getting serious. At least we know that from news reports that Israel's taking it serious, and Israel is making preparations for such an attack to happen. And they're having the Israel Independence Day there in the nation of Israel, which celebrates the birth of Israel as a nation, and perhaps at a time like that, they think the Iranians would think it's a good time to make such an attack. Who knows? It says Israel believes Iran's retaliatory effort is being led by Major General Qassem Soleimani, and Soleimani is a well-known figure of the Iranian Quds Force, the Iranian Jerusalem Force, or Quds Force. He's the head of that force, which operates around the world, and Soleimani has been in Syria heading up the Quds Force efforts there in Syria. And they believe that he's the one that's planning this revenge attack on Israel. And it goes on to say here also that there's the Iranian Brigadier General Hajizadeh. He's the head of the surface-to-surface missile program. And then there's a Colonel Mahmoud Abadi, who's the head of its air defense operations. But Soleimani is one that's leading this up. And they go on to say that Soleimani has reportedly threatened Israel and threatened to wipe out the Zionist entity over this last Israeli strike. And it says Iran has access to a variety of surface-to-surface missiles that they can use. It doesn't say, and it says that they think this would come out of Iranian bases that are in Syria, several bases that are in Syria. This is the threat that Israel's been worried about all along. This is the reason Israel's made the strikes they have in Syria, to try to press down and stifle this Iranian establishment of its military in Syria. That would be a direct threat to Israel's existence. It says here that Iran has been supporting Syrian dictator Assad since the start of the country's war, and they're continuing to support him, as we know. And I'm just looking on down through this news report here. They're saying that they think that it could be, it says Israel targeted a base on February 10th after a drone, that was a previous strike by Israel on a base in Syria. That was after a drone loaded with explosives was flown into Israeli airspace by the Iranians to carry out an attack. And Israel, if you remember this, it was a big news report. It says an Israeli attack helicopter shot down the drone moments after it entered Israeli airspace. And Israeli fighter jets later targeted the control center on the Syrian-Iranian base from which it was piloted. And if you remember, that it was during that then there was a Syrian counterattack by surface-to-air missiles, and during that, one of the Israeli F-16 jets was hit by the Syrian anti-aircraft fire, and it crashed in a field in northern Israel, and fortunately, the pilot and the navigator were able to safely eject from it. And so after that event, then you had the latest event by the Israelis of attacking an Iranian base, which was, as we talked about last night, was just right during the time that the U.S. and its Western allies were planning their Syrian attack on the chemical weapons sites in Syria. So anyway, we know that Israel sees Iran, which has vowed to destroy the Jewish state, as its central enemy in the region. And Israel has often repeated that they will not allow Iran to entrench itself in Syria, making that a red line. And that's part of what, as we were talking about on our live broadcast, I think it was last night, how that's now got Russia and Israel head-to-head against each other, in that Russia is turning toward its Arab allies, as Iran, being sympathetic to them, listening to them. Now Russia is no longer ambivalent toward Israel, and now has taken a hostile position and tone toward Israel. So this is all part of that coming together. So right now, Israel's on high alert for a potential Iranian revenge attack. Now, as part of this, the Times of Israel has also reported that there was a scheduled and planned international exercise that the IDF was going to send their jets on to participate with the U.S. And we'll look on down into this particular news account here and get more on that. It looks like, it says here, the tensions are so high between Damascus and Tehran and Jerusalem now, and Israel's on high alert that it's decided to keep its fleet of F-15 jet fighters on alert on home Israel soil, rather than let them go and take part in a military drill in the U.S. as had been planned. They canceled that. So that's how serious this high alert is that Israel is on. It says the jets were due to participate in something called Red Flag, an international military drill scheduled to take place in Alaska. But now Israel is canceling that. They're putting that on the shelf. They're saying they're not going to do it. Now they're going to keep all of their jets, I think it said their F-15 jets, in Israel on high alert. And they're saying this is all attributed to the pre-dawn aerial attack by Israel on the T4 air base in Syria last week. So obviously, this is part of what has been going on as a continuation of these events in Syria. Now Israel is seeing activity, evidently, that they think that is Iran putting together a revenge attack, and it may be the first time that Iran has directly attacked Israel instead of using their proxies such as Hezbollah. That would be a big deal. That would be first time a direct action, a direct conflict of some type between Iran and Israel. If it happens for the purpose of this high alert in Israel, that Iran would actually take that action and would fire a missile or send a drone, a military drone, against the state of Israel. So and then also here's a news alert from the Insider, Business Insider. It says here, Israel sees an Iranian air force assembling in Syria, and Israel is preparing to deal with it and try to deal it a knockout blow. Now here's a ramification of that. Now we know that Putin called Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu last week, middle of last week, like on Wednesday night, I think it was, or Thursday, right before the Western allies struck Syria. Okay, they struck on last Friday night, right when we were finishing a live broadcast with you. And we come off that live broadcast. We saw the news hit that the West had attacked Syria. We got right back on live with you, and we looked at what was happening real time, live, with that attack. And we mentioned earlier how that on Wednesday or Thursday, before that Friday night attack, that Putin called Netanyahu, and Putin sharply told Netanyahu to stand down in Syria, respect Syrian airspace, respect Syrian sovereignty. Netanyahu come back and says, "Look, we can't do that. If we stay out of Syria, then Iran is going to build a strong military presence there." So, and that conversation ended badly between Putin and Netanyahu, and now Israel is on high alert, seeing this Iranian Air Force assembling in Syria for some kind of an action, and now they're getting ready to deal with it. They're canceling an activity with the United States to keep all of their jets, their military jets, Israeli jets in Israel, to be prepared for anything. Now, if Israel strikes again into Syria, for example, to prevent and to proact on this Iranian Air Force strike that's been evidently put together, that would mean that Israel was directly in conflict with what Russia was wanting. So again, you see how the Gog of Magog prophecy, the signs of that prophecy, are continuing to build. Let's look on down into this. Here's the main points on this from this report. It says Israel is saying that it sees an Iranian, and we know that Israel has great intelligence with the Mossad, that it sees an Iranian Air Force forming in Syria that they think may seek to destroy and harm Israel. It also says Russia, Syria, and Iran have accused Israel of killing Iranian troops in that previous airstrike on the Syrian base. And we reported that there were several Iranian Revolutionary Guardsmen of the Quds force that were killed in that strike. And it really sent the Iranian Ayatollah and Soleimani and all those guys, it really sent them off the deep side, if you will. And Iran has announced plans that they will retaliate. And I mentioned to you that Russia has, for the first time, stopped being ambivalent toward Israel and is siding with Iran on this. And from all of the reports that we read, it would seem like Russia would have no issue with Iran making a direct strike, which is what Israel says that they think that Iran is now preparing to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, the signs of the last days prophecies, they're continuing to move forward as we have said that they would. And we see that Israel, the land of the Messiah, is in the middle. Jerusalem is in the middle of the events of the world. And we know that soon the last days prophecies are going to be completely fulfilled. And we know from this that soon Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, is coming. As we continue to watch and pray in preparation for the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. Jesus is coming.